Hi there, and welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk Real Estate Investing. I'm your host, Sharon Vornholt, and I'm so happy you're tuning in today. My guest today is Andresa Guidelli. Andresa was born in Brazil, so I'm sure that's an interesting story. She's a developer and asset manager with extensive experience in full gut renovation projects, new construction, commercial development, and more. She owns a rental portfolio comprising of both long and short-term rentals. She is the co-founder and CEO of the Invest Her Real Estate Community and the co-host of the Real Estate Invest Her podcast. And they recently published the Invest Her's first book, which is an Amazon bestseller, The Only Woman in the Room, Knowledge and Inspiration from 20 Successful Women Investors. That is a huge accomplishment. Welcome, Andresa.
Thank you so much for having me.
So tell me a little bit of your backstory. So you were born and raised in Brazil and you ended up in the US as a real estate investor. How did all that happen?
Yeah, right. I couldn't have planned. I could not, literally. So yeah, I came to the US in '08, and the goal was just to stay here for 1 year in an exchange cultural program. But in 6 months, I applied for my master's degree, was approved at LaSalle University here in PA.
Mm-hmm.
And I started my master's degree in business communication. So my goal was to go back to Brazil, find a job within a multinational company and work in communication there. That was the plan. But I guess somebody else had a different plan, right? So, and then at the end of my master's degree, I realized that I didn't have sales experience, and although I didn't want to be a salesperson, I understood the benefits of having sales skills. So I took an internship on door-to-door sales for business to business, Verizon business to business, and I'm telling you, it was one of the hardest jobs I've ever done in my life, but over there, I learned so many different things, importances about building rapport, creating systems. And in one of the meetings that I had with my manager then, I said, listen, what book would you recommend for me, in regards to sales? And he's like, no. You don't see yet, but you will. And he like slide across the table, this very tiny purple book, and it was Rich Dad Poor Dad. And
Yeah.
I was like, okay, who is Robert Kiyosaki? What is about like Rich Dad Poor Dad? Like, I don't like novels or any. It's like no. Take a look. You're gonna read this weekend, I bet, and I'll talk to you next week. And then I was like, what? Why are you sharing? And then the next week I came to him. I was like, first of all, I didn't know real estate even existed, and this was a way for people to really leverage their skills and have recurring income through rentals and different strategies. And I said to him, like, why are you doing this? Because if I make more money here, you make more money, right? Isn't that the game? He's like, but you're not going to stay here. You just don't know that yet. You're going to be an entrepreneur. And I think that you should look into real estate. And then, of course, Google knew that I was Googling Robert Kiyosaki. And then there was a 3-day event from him here in PA for his team. And then I went, and that was it, right? At that time, my ex-husband at that time and I did the entire course together, invested a ton of money on the education, and we bought our first property, rehab it, and pull a HELOC out and start doing all over again. That's how it started.
That is so funny that he saw that you were an entrepreneur before you even saw that. That is what a gift he gave you. Oh my
Absolutely.
gosh.
It was really like, I could imagine, like, if you haven't said anything, if you haven't given me the book or it will be completely different, I believe.
I think that book has changed more people's lives than probably any book I've ever known about, because it makes you think differently. It's not really even about what's in the book, but you think differently.
Yeah. And I was like, why we don't know this? Because before I had an MBA in Brazil, right? And I was like, we talk about finance, but it's more like an employee mindset, not an
Yes.
entrepreneur mindset whatsoever, right? So I was like, I've been trained my entire freaking life to be an employee. I was
Yeah.
like, right, all the eight, and like I felt ashamed for being like an A student. I was like, I don't want to be an A student anymore. I want to be a C.
That's so funny. That is so funny. You are doing so many things. I know you're doing new construction now. I get so many requests to talk about short-term rentals. So I wanted to
Yeah.
get your take on short-term versus long-term because I know you have both. And I see some people trying both and then saying, nope, I don't like that one. Or I have a friend who says, I hate long-term rentals. I just hate them. But short-term rentals, I love those. So tell me where you sit in all of that.
Yeah. So there's pros and cons, right? I always, when people say, should I Airbnb this or not, I always start with the simple like steps. First of all, you got to look at your local laws, right? But
Mhm.
independently of that, you've got to run your numbers as if if Airbnb over here in Philadelphia was not permitted anymore, I have to go back to long term. Will my number work
Yeah.
or not? Right.
Mhm.
So I run the numbers based on that concept. And I think that a lot of people just, it's like glamour of having like, oh, this high income per month, which if you do it right, is double what regular income, long-term income is, or more, depending on the
Mhm.
season. But there's a lot of different things that you got to do, right? The bump up when you're opening up, you have zero reviews. So guess
Yeah.
what? Your first month, if you make money, it's great. Absolutely. There's a lot of people that I know that start making money in the first day. But
Mhm.
I have very realistic expectations. Like the goal of the first, 3 months is to really to get those 10 high, like super great 5-star reviews. That's my goal. So I need to think about like what is the reserve that I have here to carry me through it. And the goal for the short term is not to create you another job, right? It's not. So it's really high into process. Like Airbnb have been improved. I've been doing this since 2012, and they have been improving the way that they communicate, allowing to create. Before we didn't have an option to
Mhm.
create canned messages a long time ago. It is available, so you can set up them to go. So because people ask the same questions, right? Is there
Yes.
parking? Where is the bakery? What are the restaurants? So besides those can answers, you can also do a very nice printed folder and leave at the property with your reviews. For example, I like to give my, like, if you go to this place here, I love the creme brulee French toast. You must
Yes.
try. So it's just like, and then they leave me a message at the whiteboard saying, I tried the creme brulee French toast and I loved it. Thank you for the recommendation. Because they want to feel that, okay, I'm here and I want to go. Majority of my guests don't stay a lot at the property, to be quite honest, because
Yeah.
I'm in Philadelphia, so it's all year long. It's not like during summer or during winter time. So for me, one of the biggest criteria is that, can I make money all year long or not?
Yeah, because I heard someone in my city talk about buying a rental and they set the whole thing up, or it was an Airbnb. They set it up to make the big bucks during Derby. Well, that's great. But what about the rest of the month or the rest of the year when you've got all of these other non-events, not like the Derby or some giant event? What are the pulls as far as, location factors into it and all of that? So
Sure. I
that's
mean,
really smart.
yeah, I think that, like vacation rentals, for example, some people make their money on during summertime, but
Hmm.
you've got to make that revenue, that income that will cover your entire year, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because your cost, if you have or you don't have it, gas coming in, the cost still basically the same. The carrying costs are the same. So I run the numbers based on this all year long. No proximity to public transportation, and where are the attractions here in Philadelphia? We have sports events, we have the conferences. So I get a lot of people that are coming here for the conferences, and they don't stay at the property, which I love.
Yes.
Everything outside.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my sister-in-law has well, she has two vacation rentals in Florida. One is a 3-bedroom and the other is a 2-bedroom. And she says that she loves when the 2-bedroom rents because they rent to the convention people there at the convention center. But the 3-bedroom is families because it's 3 bedrooms, 3.5 baths. It's bigger. So that is something to think about for sure. But I love what you said about can I make this a long-term rental in the worst case scenario? Because I remember back in 2008 when houses were great flips, but all of a sudden, when you found out you were going to have to hold them, maybe they weren't great at cash flow. So I changed my entire buying model back then for that what if situation. It had to be able to be a rental if it didn't sell because virtually nobody was getting a mortgage in 2000. It was really hard in 2008 for a retail buyer to get a mortgage.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think that going in with multiple exit strategies is the key. And I just want to go back to what you're saying about the family, right? The more niche you are with your short-term rental, better it is. You want to make it like an experience for the people. So I'll give you an example. There's one property. It's a 3-bedroom, 1.5 bath with finished basement that I target to family. So the word family is on the title, right? Okay. And what do I do for them? I do allow pets. I have a pet fee, but I do allow pets because a lot of people come with pets. So I have a pet fee there to cover the cost of, cleaning up everything, and which is different than the regular cleaning, right? You don't want anything there. But I also have things for the kids, toys, high chair, like a gate, and all of that. There's no extra cost for that, but I let them know that there is, those things available for them, so they don't need to bring it. And therefore they book that a lot. So that's very targeted for families. So if you're targeting for, one person or 2 people that you want to just do like a rustic style or something very like, you got to differentiate your property from the competition. And I look at the competition. I go on, you don't need to go and pay different softwares to figure this out. It's pretty simple. You go on Airbnb as if you were a guest, and you look in the area, and you just run comps, like running comps, right? I run comps. I see what they're offering around and how much they are charging during the week and during the weekend, high season and low season. And I run comps the same ways. It's pretty, if you look as a guest, you're going to know exactly what your guests in the area want to see it. So you just provide it what people want.
Yeah, that led me to another question about levels of Airbnbs.
Yeah.
There are some people in my area buying in areas close to downtown. They're not bad areas, but they're not what I call great areas. And for me, I don't really understand that thinking. What do you have to say about that? I mean, they're just in marginal neighborhoods. The Airbnb looks great, and I'm sure it looks great on the site. But when they get there, I actually kind of worry about maybe it's a little bit higher crime area. I'm not really certain why people do that. So I'm sure it doesn't sound like you. Sounds like you don't do that at all. Yeah.
No, and I think that it comes down to, like, as real estate investors, right? I'm looking at this as an investment, and the same criteria that I apply for my flips, For my rentals, I have no negotiable for certain things, right? For those things. And for Airbnb, I don't want it to be in an area that is still in development. I
Yes.
want it to be in an area that is established. Walkability is extremely important. If it is parking is important, for them that's fine. But majority of my guests, they fly in to Philly,
Mhm.
so parking it is not important. Great, because I am over here. Yeah, parking is
Yeah.
really crazy, so we don't have that space. Um, but you got to I see people investing in areas, and I was like, I don't know what
Mhm.
type of guests you're gonna get, right? It's exactly the same thing if you're renting in certain areas. It
Yes.
is really different. You're gonna attract based on your price point. If you're in an area where there's high crime rate, or you don't have Airbnb in the area, there's a reason for that,
Yes.
right? Keep that in mind. And then your price per night, so you can get that going, is low. Who do you attract when it's low price, right? I have
Mhm.
certain criteria to avoid crazy things. I think throughout my years, I had like one or two situations where I had to engage Airbnb into it. So a couple of things that I do: I don't do one night. It's
Yes.
not worth my time,
Mhm.
right? Minimum are 2 nights, and they will pay a very high over here. My cleaning fee, it's not cheap. It is high. And some folks, they understand that. Why is it high? Because I want the house clean.
Clean.
I don't want it like, right? So when I see a lower cleaning fee, that's not good. I want my cleaning lady to feel that she's good, she's doing a great job, everything is there. One thing that I do though, I have in and it's outside of Airbnb. I have an automatic agreement, standard agreement, that they all need to sign electronically, which describes obviously what's going on over there. It talks about my insurance, that I'm not covering them. So for liability purpose,
Oh.
I want that to be there. And it's like crystal clear. It was made by my attorney. So it's been using there. Do everybody like that? No, right? People that have been, don't have any second intentions, they have no problem signing it, because it doesn't really matter.
Mhm.
But people that have like, oh, I was supposed to do like a party there, and now you're telling me that you don't allow parties, right? Oh, you're
Oh,
gonna screw my party, right?
yeah.
But then they are gonna have a problem, and then I filter them right away, so we don't move forward with that. But it's very simple. It does not complicate things. It goes on. They can sign on their cell phone. It's good to go. So that's a good thing that I have put in place, just to avoid any trouble in the future.
So is it mainly around parties and those sorts of things?
Well, yeah, but it's also for liability, right? Because Airbnb says that they have $1 million policy, whatever that is. It doesn't really matter, because if, when you go to look down the little tiny
The little
letters at the
one.
bottom, right, you're not going to be reliable if somebody
Mm-hmm.
trip and fall inside your house. And my insurance, this is so important. My insurance is not a regular insurance, because this is a business. So Airbnb is a business, and
Mm-hmm.
you have to have proper insurance for short-term rental, because your regular insurance will not cover if something happens.
So what does happen then? Let's say someone's child trips and falls down the steps. What happens in that situation?
If you do have insurance, or if you don't have insurance.
Both ways. So you're saying
Well,
you don't have insurance.
yeah, if you just have like a homeowner's,
Mm-hmm.
like your regular insurance, right?
Yeah.
Your regular insurance does not cover business, right?
Right.
Because Airbnb is a business. And certain insurances, they just cover when you have a guest. And
Okay.
that I went through this a couple of years ago, because I was like, wait a minute. And I called my insurance folks, and I was like, do you guys cover short-term rental here on that? She's like, I don't think so. I was like, if you don't think so, you don't. So I need to get this up and going. They said, yeah, no, we cover when there are guests. But the issue with that is that's why it kind of generated, is because one host a couple of years ago, she did not have guests in, and a tree fell. So the insurance company said, no, 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 when there is no gas, we don't cover it. So that's when generated. So there's proper insurance for Airbnb when you have a guest or you don't have a guest.
Okay.
Because depending the insurance that you have, you might be reliable for that person. So you want to make sure that you are covered and you're doing all the disclaimers proper to your state.
Wow, that's very interesting. Is there a way you pick? If you find a property, do you then decide on your primary exit strategy? Let's say you just find a property, or do you go looking for an Airbnb, or is it when you get the property, you decide what you're going to do with it?
Well, Liz and I, my business partner, we get this question a lot. And we always say that we start with the market, right? We analyze the market first as a micro, and then we go in. Certain markets are extremely good for flips. And if you can make it work with Airbnb, that's awesome too, or rentals. So it depends on the market. So the market for me comes first. And then when a lead comes in, we all know that to build wealth is through rentals, right? So the goal is to increase the portfolio with rentals. However, sometimes the market, as it crazy right now here in Philadelphia, the houses are selling super quick. However, the inventory is super low. So it's when you get something that the numbers make sense, you need to look at your local market and see where it is. Is it making sense for me to sell it right now so I can get that capital and reinvest into rentals, or no, right? So you got to look at your local areas. And here, when you say Philadelphia, you've got to look even like the little pockets, because we're so big. The same thing does not apply in my neighborhood that apply to another. So it's really like the numbers will tell you exactly what it needs to be done there. And you might have multiple things, and then it comes down to what's your personal vision for your business.
You touched on this a little bit about the expectations of guests. So you try to get ahead of that. And I look at different people that I know that provide certain amenities.
Yeah.
So I guess one of the questions I was curious about are, do you have some suggestions for people that can deliver a premium experience? And I think you do that with the things for the children without breaking the bank.
Absolutely. And I have another one that it's not for children, and I have like cross the standard. I think that the most important thing is the customer service, right? How fast can you answer the questions? And if you have standard answers is the best thing. So it's just like painting the picture for them, what's going to happen, what are your expectations, and how things are going to go. In terms of like amenities, I want to make sure that they have the basics to make a breakfast if they want to there. And sometimes at the beginning of every single listing, I have like fresh pastries coming to the property right prior of their arrival, as an incentive for them to really like have a great experience. Everything, one of the most important things for me are sheets and towels. That's where the investment is, because that's where their experience are going to be, right? So that is extremely good. And I have like a basket in the bathroom with different things like tampons, band-aids, and different like first aid too, because if sometimes they forget, extra toothbrush, it's there if they want to have it. So I just replace that, and I take that in consideration that I it's an investment, but it's worth for them to have that experience there if they need to, if they want to.
Yeah, I think that's huge. Every little thing is about creating a memorable experience. And I think too, you can do that even in your follow-up. You can thank them for staying. You can have a whole, you have an on kind of like an onboarding series, but kind
Yes.
of like an outboarding series.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
It's like the check-in and then the like touch up, not to micromanage or like bother them, but it's
Yeah.
just like, hey, I just want to check how's everything going. Is there anything that I can do to make it even better? And
Mm-hmm.
you welcome those feedbacks. And I do have like a no excuse mentality, right? As if I was in a hotel and I'm asking for something, I don't want to hear attitude. I don't want to hear anything. I just want to hear I apologize, even if it is not my mistake, right?
Right.
I don't know. The cable company is doing some work on the outside and they don't have cable. I apologize for the inconvenience and I do something about it. And I make it up for them in a different way. You
Mm-hmm.
know, it is just always about I think about like hospitality. It's about
Yeah.
hospitality with the guests more than anything, more
Mm-hmm.
than a landlord mentality.
That's a great way to think about it. If you were in a hotel room, they wouldn't act like it was too much trouble to bring you extra towels or something like that. So it's the same. Yeah, it is really the same mentality.
Yes, 100%.
Do you find that, do you have any issues with damage or things going missing or anything like that?
So we have an inventory of what is in the property, and that inventory is it's on the contract that they signed. So I described over there, not in extremely details, but it is there. And I have a refundable secure deposit that I do request. So after the cleaning person goes there and takes a look, if there's damage, return. If there's no damage, we return the secure deposit. But if there is something, we hold that and we take pictures and we submit to the person. I
Mm-hmm.
think that it's exactly as like a renter, right? If you vet the renter right,
Mm-hmm.
you won't have a lot of trouble long term. And
Yeah.
same thing with guests, right? I want to see reviews. I do want to see reviews. I want to see what's going on. I want the name of every single person. I have
Mm-hmm.
questions about if they are receiving guests or not, if they're smokers, if they're not. And when I say smokers, it's so funny this because I describe what is a smoker.
Oh,
And
you're kidding?
yeah, guess why? Because somebody was smoking pot and it's like, I didn't consider pot smoking. I was like, what the
What?
hell? Right. So I describe any shape, form, like natural, artificial, I don't know, whatever, electronic, I don't know, whatever it's no inside this property. So as you evolve, you get certain situations that you're like, that's, are you kidding me? But then you're like, well, guess what? I did not say that over here on my contract. So you kind of like update your scope of work basically to reflect that in a nicer way, right? But it's just like, what happened? What happened here? And it's not that like I don't allow parties. I always say, for example, in the past, not right now with COVID, but people are like, I have two friends. We were visiting a couple that we know here. Can they
Mm-hmm.
come over for dinner? I was like, absolutely not a problem. That is not a problem. When I say parties, is just like, okay, two people are
Mm-hmm.
booking, and all of a sudden there's like 10, 15 people inside the
Mm-hmm.
property. So
Yeah.
that is not allowed. So that's the difference.
Okay, I want to touch on for a minute here, profitability and return on investment.
Yeah.
How does that compare with, let's say, a long-term rental?
Well, it really depends, right? There's different strategies with Airbnb. If you own it or if you are um, renting from somebody else and that owner pays the mortgage, the PITI, everything else. So the numbers will vary there. There's always a initial cost to
Right.
furnish everything, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that is a cost that the goal is to recoup that cost extremely quick. at the beginning. So I leave between 3 to 6 months to make sure that everything is recouped, and then after that is good to go. And at the beginning, probably the price per night is a little bit lower because you want to attract the folks, and then
Mm-hmm.
you manage the pricing throughout the year. The first year is really like a pilot. If you don't have other properties in the area that you know, like the trend, how it
Mm-hmm.
goes, it's really like a case study,
Oh,
basically, for
okay.
you to understand, okay, where are the low seasons and the high seasons, where does it happen, right? Because let's say, even though February a couple of years ago was low season, but we had Super Bowl here in Philadelphia, so we had Super Bowl, we had the big like the celebration because the
Mm-hmm.
Eagles won, so everything was booked for that weekend extremely high. So you can think ahead and say, okay, the Pope is coming, right?
Mm-hmm.
2015, Pope is coming. My prices are gonna go all the way high, exactly as hotels. So
Okay.
you can totally recoup the investment, but there is a upfront investment that you need to take in consideration. So it's not like, yo, cash flows immediately. It would be awesome if you could
Yeah.
do that, but there's like a transition period until you get up and running. It's just
Mm-hmm.
setting up like expectations for everybody.
It's a thing now, and I think it's so important for people to understand that. I think the natural inclination for people is to think they're going to recoup their costs faster than what they do. It's it's been my
Right?
experience anyway.
Exactly. I think the real estate, I talk to a lot of women and are like, listen, this is not like McDonald's that you go
Mm-hmm.
around. And of course, we see a lot of HGTV where people rehab houses in 2 weeks, they made 100 grand. We're let's be realistic here.
Mm-hmm.
We're in the middle of pandemic too, permits, it all that stuff. Things happen, right? Things
Mm-hmm.
happen. We don't have things like the tip of our fingers at this moment. We need to
Mm-hmm.
look for things that are in stock to get them delivered or delayed. So it is really setting up the expectations. It's not this like you can automate Airbnb extremely well. Yes, absolutely. But it takes work to put that in place, to find somebody that can clean. Why do I pay the cleaning person extremely high? Because it's extremely important. One
Mm-hmm.
review that says that your house it's
Yes.
not clean,
Yes.
that can cost much more. So I rather make sure that that is just like, okay, that is top notch, and I do have standards, right? I have train, you gotta train somebody, you gotta have
Mm-hmm.
somebody reliable. And guess what, it happened, right? Let's say the person had to go to the hospital because her kid was having something, right? We all have those things.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't find anybody. Guess who had to go there and get it done because I had a high end gas coming in or whatever, a gas was coming in?
Mm-hmm.
Me.
You.
So sometimes I think there's just this glamour of real estate that people don't see what it takes, right? Before that beautiful house is rehabbed with everything new, that house was smelling, was had like a lot of
Yeah.
things that we have to go through, right? Like renters, we have to go through so many hoops and crazy circumstances, right? I had a renter, long-term, very nice person, but she didn't think that her toilet running a little bit was something that she should worry about. So when we got the water bill for the building, and I was like, something is off, 100% off, and we did an audit. Yeah, her water was like 10 times more than the regular. So, and then you go to educate the person. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
yes, this is a problem. Is your toilet is not supposed to run whatsoever. So anything that is not running the way that it's supposed to, I need to know. But
Mm-hmm.
you've got to deal with certain things that are not pleasant in real estate too. Is it worth it? Yeah, but you got to go through it.
It is. You've got to look at the big picture. Otherwise, you just jump off the ledge sometimes when things are
Yes.
going wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. You learn from it, right?
Mhm.
Sometimes you want to hit yourself like, oh my gosh, how did I make that mistake? Well, I look at, okay, got it under my belt. That is an experience now. And that is going to make me better moving forward. I'm not going to make that again. I don't, doesn't need to happen again with me. I'll make other mistakes,
Mhm.
not this one.
Not that one. So I want to finish out today talking about the book because I've certainly got the book, and my goal is to get through an interview with every single person in the book and
Awesome.
working through that one. But I love the book, and I was really kind of sick that I didn't think of the title because that was the way it's been for me because I started in 1998. And truthfully, a lot of that stuff hasn't changed.
Yeah,
It's
right.
it's kind of unbelievable, but it hasn't. And I think what I did all those years ago when I started was you kind of had to have tunnel vision. You knew you were the only woman in the room. You had to make a conscious decision that, okay, I know they're over here, but I'm going right down the middle here. So you did that, but I'm not going to say it was easy. It wasn't always easy, and so I was so thrilled when you all brought the book out because then you finally just said it out loud. And something I've been doing for a while, but believe me, in the early years, you didn't even say it out loud. It
Mm-hmm.
was so it's empowering for this newer generation of women to know that it used to be this way. It's still somewhat this way, but you can make a difference. You can be the top in your field and be a woman.
Yes, no, absolutely. It is, as Liz and I, when we started the real estate investor community, we were meeting every single month because we felt that we're like solopreneurs. We're running our business by ourselves. And we were like, where can we find a community where we can get the support we need? Where are the other
Mhm.
women? It's not possible, right? And we couldn't find it. So we had to create a community for dedicated for women in this sense. And I think that, as we start verbalizing it more and really like, okay, we are here and speaking out with, not among ourselves, to say, okay, I know your experience, so let's talk about your experience, because we are really under the radar. And the book started because we were in a conference, and there was, I think Liz at that time was the only one that was in a panel, right? She was not even speaking, the keynote
Mhm.
speaker or anything else. And we're like, I see so many women over here that could be on that stage rock and rolling with
Yes.
all the experience. So
Mhm.
what's going on over here?
Yep.
So we got that, and I was like, we should start talking more. And also communicating with the organizer of the
Yes.
conferences, because sometimes it's just a lack of awareness. And we have got allies that come behind us, to really like, yep. In the following conference, I remember we were all over the place. There were so many women, and we
Yeah.
were on stage. And why do
Mhm.
we want to be on stage? It is not for ego. It
Yeah.
really isn't.
Mhm.
Is really for the next generations and for the current women that are coming behind us, to see, oh my gosh, here you go, she did it, I'm gonna do it too. Oh, she was a
Mhm.
mom, or she was divorced, or whatever that situation
Mhm.
might be. She worked with her husband. Oh, me too, like the me too situation.
Yes.
Like I can relate to that, because sometimes we are not able to relate whatsoever
Yeah.
of what's going on. Yeah, you did all of that because you did have a partner to support you, right? Cool. But not to shame anybody, but our language, what goes around our mind, right? The guilt of having to work and leave your child behind, or childcare, not that you're abusing anything, but really like not spend as much time with your family and child as you would like, that guilt, how to deal with that. We don't talk a lot about that
Yeah.
type of stuff. So the book is really not just inspirational, but like full of knowledge for those women. They are super successful, and they're rock and rolling around. I can, I can't wait to be all of us in a in-person
I know.
conference. Hopefully we'll do that soon.
I know. That's going to be so exciting. Well, Andresa, thanks so much. I'll put the links to the podcasts and the book and everything below, but what's the best way for folks to get in touch with you?
Sure. So they can find us on our website, therealestateinvestor.com, or on Instagram at the Real Estate Investor.
Okay. Okay. And do you have any final words of wisdom for people before we close it out here?
Well, I always say one thing. I am 100% responsible for what happens to me, to my projects. If it goes right, it's on me. If it goes wrong, it's on me too. And the reason for that, because then the power is on me to change. When I blame somebody else about, oh, this project did not go right because of my contractor, then it's on them to figure it out and do it better. When it's on me, I take responsibility for it. I am in control of where I'm taking my life, not just my business, but my life as a whole.
I love that. I love that. That's great. So I'm going to put that in the show notes too. Thanks again, Andresa, for coming on the show. And to all the listeners, thank you for coming out today and week after week. And please share the show if you loved it. And leave us a rating and a review over on iTunes. It helps people to find us. And as women, we appreciate the little extra help that we can get. So I will see you all same time, same place next week. Bye for now.